Did you know there's a missile in the world so powerful it can wipe out a country the size of Texas in minutes? And now it might be in the hands of Iran? Imagine a weapon that carries 15 tons of nuclear payload, travels at Mach 20, and can strike multiple targets simultaneously. If the reports are true, this isn't just a new missile for Iran. It's a complete game changer that flips the balance of power in the Middle East. Overnight. The details are chilling. This missile, known as Satan-2, could hit Israel's entire territory with just one launch, leaving no safe zone, no warning, and no reliable defense. Even the most advanced missile shields would strut intercept it, and the speed, it could reach its targets in less than 7 minutes, faster than any decision-making system could react. But here's the twist. The transfer reportedly came from Russia, a major nuclear power, during an active conflict with the US and Israel. If true, this is unprecedented, a breach of every rule in the nuclear world, a message to Washington, and a shockwave that could change global security forever. Number one, what is Satan-2 and why it matters? The missile, reportedly transferred to Iran, is called Satan-2, officially the RS-28 Sarmat, and it is not just another weapon, it is a civilization-altering force. Imagine a missile that carries 15 tons of nuclear payload compared to just 340 kilograms on an American Minuteman III. That's 44 times heavier, enough to carry 10, 15 independently targetable warheads, each capable of hitting a separate target. One launch could cover every city, military base, and government facility in Israel, leaving nothing untouched. This is not speculation. These are the technical realities that make Satan-2 fundamentally different from any missile in missile history. Its speed is equally alarming. Traveling at Mach 20 or 24,500 kilometers per hour, Satan-2 could cross the distance from western Iran to Israel in under 7 minutes. Standard missile defense systems, which require at least 8 to 10 minutes to track and intercept threats, simply cannot react in time. Add to that its fractional orbital bombardment capability, which allows the warhead to approach from unexpected directions, including from the south where defenses are weakest, and it becomes clear there is no reliable shield against this missile. Why does this matter for the world? Because Satan-2 in Iranian hands reshaped deterrence, Israel's entire nuclear second strike doctrine. The assurance that it could retaliate after an attack relies on surviving. First strike Satan-2 jeopardizes that entire framework. Beyond Israel, the missile threatens global security, including American cities, U.S. military bases, and the broader Middle East. This is not a regional problem. It is a strategic shockwave that changes the calculations of nations, alliances, and military planners everywhere. The era of conventional deterrence is over. A new nuclear reality has arrived. We put hours of research and analysis into these videos, so let us know your thoughts in the comments. How do you think the world will respond to this new threat? And don't forget, subscribing is just one click to stay ahead with the most in-depth strategic insights. This alleged transfer of Satan-2 nuclear warhead technology from Russia to Iran is not a random act, it is a calculated strategic decision. From Moscow's perspective, for years, Russia has watched the United States and NATO arm Ukraine, pour billions into its defense, and challenge Russian influence without facing the same consequences. Meanwhile, Russia's allies, like Iran, face threats with little support. From this lens, rules-based international order looks more like a tool for others, not a neutral system. Russia's motivation is multifaceted. First, it preserves critical economic and military ties with Iran, a key partner in the Middle East. Iran is not just a buyer of Russian weapons. It is a strategic ally in a region where Russian influence matters. Second, Moscow knows that any U.S. response to such a transfer is constrained. A direct strike risks nuclear escalation, and diplomatic pressure is unlikely to reverse a transfer that has already occurred. Russia is betting the U.S. will react rhetorically but not militarily, sending a message. If the West acts without restraint, Russia can empower its allies with overwhelming deterrent capability. Finally, the transfer is a statement about global power dynamics. It signals that Russia sees the rules as negotiable and that strategic advantage comes from decisive action, not compliance. For Putin, it is a calculated gamble. Alter the strategic balance in the Middle East, challenge U.S. and Israeli dominance, and reinforce Russia's position as a global power that will protect and empower its partners even in the face of global scrutiny. In short, this is nuclear chess at the highest stakes, and the pieces are moving faster than anyone expected. We've unpacked complex intelligence and global strategy just for you. Tell us in the comments what you think the world should do next. And remember, subscribing is just one click to stay on top of the most critical stories shaping our planet. Number 3, what this means for Israel's survival. For Israel, the reported arrival of Satan-2 nuclear capability in Iran is nothing short of existential. Israel is a small country, roughly 470 kilometers from north to south and 135 kilometers at its widest point. A single Satan-2 missile, armed with 10 independently targetable warheads, could cover the entire country simultaneously, striking every population center, military installation, and government facility. This is not a partial threat. It is total national coverage, leaving Israel's traditional deterrence strategies, including its Samson option, under extreme pressure. Israel's nuclear doctrine relies on a credible second strike capability, the ability to retaliate if attacked first. But with Satan-2, that capability is jeopardized. The missile's Mach 20 speed allows it to reach targets in under 7 minutes, far faster than the time needed to confirm a launch, make decisions, and deploy a counterstrike. Add the maneuvering reentry vehicles designed to evade missile defense systems, and Israel faces a threat that cannot be reliably intercepted. Even its most advanced missile shields are outmatched by physics and technology. Beyond the immediate technical threat, the strategic implications are profound. Israel can no longer rely solely on deterrence through ambiguity or its alliances. Every decision about military action, intelligence gathering, or regional diplomacy is now under the shadow of a weapon that can destroy the entire nation in minutes. This shifts Israel's posture from proactive defense to high-stakes survival, recalibrating not just military planning, but the very psychology of national security. In short, Satan-2 is more than a missile. It is a game-changing existential challenge that reshapes the balance of power in the Middle East. We've broken down the chilling reality of Israel's new threat. Share your thoughts in the comments. How would you respond if your country faced this level of danger? And don't forget, subscribing is just one click to stay informed on stories that truly matter. Number 4, why the U.S. is strategically paralyzed. The alleged transfer of Satan-2 technology to Iran has put the United States in a diplomatic and military bind unlike anything in recent memory. On one hand, Washington has nuclear weapons, the most advanced missile defenses, and a powerful conventional military. On the other, the speed, range, and maneuverability of Satan-2 rendered traditional responses largely ineffective. A direct strike on Iran risks unknown underground bunkers, hardened facilities, and unintended escalation, possibly drawing Russia directly into conflict, a scenario no U.S. president can risk without crossing the nuclear thresholds. American policymakers now face a grim reality. Words alone cannot reverse what may already be a fait accompli. Diplomacy has limits when the transfer has allegedly already occurred, and military action risks global catastrophe. The strategic calculus has shifted from controlling escalation to managing survival. Even sending warnings or imposing sanctions may embolden Iran, signaling that advanced nuclear capability cannot be easily challenged. The U.S. finds itself constrained by the very rules of nuclear deterrence it relies upon, forced into careful maneuvers that prioritize containment and long-term strategy over immediate action. This paralysis extends beyond military considerations. The credibility of U.S. alliances, especially with NATO partners in Israel, is at stake. If America cannot prevent the proliferation of the most dangerous nuclear weapon ever built, allies may question the reliability of its extended deterrence, prompting them to explore independent capabilities. The ripple effect could reshape global security norms, emboldening adversaries and undermining decades of non-proliferation agreements. The Satan-2 transfer is not just a crisis. It is a strategic shockwave that exposes the limits of American power in the 21st century. We've unpacked the impossible choices facing the U.S. Tell us in the comments what you would do if you were in their shoes. And remember, subscribing is just one click to keep receiving deep, game-changing analysis. Number 5, the collapse of global nuclear order. The transfer of Satan to nuclear technology to Iran is more than a regional crisis. It is a tectonic shock to the global nuclear order. Since 1968, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, has governed nuclear behavior. The five recognized powers, US, Russia, China, UK, and France, agree not to transfer nuclear weapons or related technology, while non-nuclear states agree not to pursue them. This delicate bargain maintained decades of relative stability, even as nations like India, Pakistan, and North Korea developed nuclear weapons independently. Those instances were troubling, but did not completely undermine the system, because major powers never directly transferred technology to a hostile non-nuclear state. If Russia has indeed transferred Satan-2 capabilities, the rules are broken at the highest level. The credibility of the NPT collapses because it depends on consistent behavior by the world's most powerful nations. Once one P5 member crosses the line, other states may feel unconstrained. China could reinterpret its obligations in the Taiwan conflict, where countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt may accelerate their nuclear ambitions. What was once a framework designed to contain proliferation now risks becoming a blueprint for unrestricted escalation. The implications extend beyond treaties. The global perception of security, alliances, and strategic restraint is now in question. Nations can no longer assume that security guarantees from allies or international norms are reliable. Deterrence through alliances may weaken, prompting a cascade of nuclear development worldwide. The Middle East, Europe, and Asia all face a future where nuclear capability is increasingly decentralized, and the world becomes a more volatile and unpredictable place. The alleged Satan-2 transfer is not just a headline. It is a structural earthquake shaking the foundations of global security. We've broken down the collapse of the rules that once kept the world safe. Share your thoughts in the comments. Which country do you think will move first in this new nuclear reality? And don't forget, subscribing is just one click to stay informed on the most critical global developments. The alleged transfer of Satan-2 nuclear warhead technology to Iran has created a world filled with uncertainty, but analysts outline three possible scenarios that could shape the coming years. Scenario 1. Iran achieves full operational capability within months. If the transfer included complete warheads, Iran could soon possess a strike-ready nuclear arsenal capable of threatening Israel, U.S. forces in the region, and potentially American cities. This would immediately alter the calculus of Middle East security, forcing Israel and its allies to rethink strategies that have governed regional deterrence for decades. Scenario 2. Iran receives warhead designs and technical know-how, giving it the ability to produce its own Satan-2 warheads within 12 to 18 months. While not instant, this scenario still represents a rapid acceleration of nuclear capability, compressing timelines that previously stretched years into just over a year. Intelligence and military planners would face a race against time, needing to adapt containment strategies before Iran reaches full operational capability. Scenario 3. Iran receives components and critical technology, but not complete warheads. Even this partial transfer is catastrophic by closing gaps in Iran's nuclear engineering. It could achieve a deliverable nuclear weapon within 18 to 36 months, far faster than any Western nation anticipated. In all three scenarios, Iran's deterrent is immediate and credible, altering regional and global power dynamics. The common thread is clear. The transfer shifts the balance of power, undermines existing security guarantees, and leaves the United States, Israel, and their allies with few options that do not risk escalation. Each scenario demonstrates that the world is entering a new era of nuclear uncertainty, where strategic calculations must account for weapons and capabilities never before in the hands of non-superpower states. The future is no longer theoretical. It is unfolding now, and every nation must rethink its defense alliances and approach to deterrence. We've mapped out the possible futures. Tell us in the comments which scenario scares you the most and why. And remember, subscribing is just one click to stay ahead of the most critical global developments. The Satan-2 missile, also known as the RS-28 Sarmat, is not just another ballistic missile. It is a weapon engineered to reshape the rules of warfare. With a payload capacity of 15 tons, it can carry 10 to 15 independently targetable reentry vehicles, NERVs. To put that in perspective, the American Minimum 3 ICBM carries just 340 kg, less than 3% of Satan-2's payload. This massive capacity allows a single launch to simultaneously strike multiple targets across an entire country, including population centers, military bases, and critical infrastructure, making traditional defensive measures largely ineffective. The missile reaches speeds of Mach 20, roughly 24,500 kilometers per hour, compressing reaction times for missile defense systems to mere minutes. Even Israel's most advanced Arrow 3 interceptors require 8-10 minutes of tracking for standard warheads, far exceeding the response window against a Mach 20 maneuvering reentry vehicle. The Satan-2's fractional orbital bombardment capability adds another layer of complexity. It can approach targets from unexpected directions, including from the south, exploiting gaps in missile defense systems and bypassing conventional tracking protocols. Beyond speed and payload, the missile's MARBI maneuvering reentry vehicles are designed to evade interception. These warheads can perform unpredictable lateral maneuvers during descent, making interception nearly impossible, even with advanced radar and missile defense networks. This combination of range, speed, payload, and evasive technology means the Satan-2 is not just a weapon, it is a strategic game changer, capable of nullifying decades of defensive planning and deterrence strategies in the hands of a new actor like Iran. The missile dramatically shifts the balance of power, threatening both regional and global stability. We've revealed the terrifying technical power of Satan-2. Share your thoughts in the comments. How would you respond if this weapon were in your region? And don't forget, subscribing is just one click to stay informed on the world's most critical developments. Israel, a nation roughly 470 kilometers long and 135 kilometers wide, has long relied on its nuclear second strike capability, known as the Samson option, as the ultimate deterrent. This doctrine ensures that if Israel faces an existential attack, its nuclear forces could retaliate, preserving the country's survival. However, the arrival of Satan-2 capabilities in Iran fundamentally changes this calculation. A single Satan-2 missile, armed with 10 to 15 independently targetable reentry vehicles, could strike every corner of Israel simultaneously. No military installation, command center, or infrastructure node would remain untouched, leaving Israel with little to no chance to authorize a retaliatory strike before devastation occurs. Israel's missile defense systems, including the Arrow 3 and David's Sling, are designed to intercept conventional ballistic threats. Yet the Satan-2's Mach 20 speed, coupled with MARBI, maneuvering warheads, compresses reaction time to under 5 minutes. Israel's most advanced interceptors cannot reliably track or neutralize a missile, performing unpredictable evasive maneuvers, rendering even the best defenses largely ineffective. The strategic shock is not about quantity of missiles, but the quality and complexity of the threat. Israel's core doctrine, the guarantee of retaliation, is now technically challenged. Beyond Israel's borders, This vulnerability sends a clear signal to the region. Iran's new capability creates credible deterrence, altering power dynamics across the Middle East. The fear is no longer hypothetical. It is immediate and measurable, forcing Israel and its allies to rethink traditional defense strategies, alliances, and preemptive options. In short, the Satan-2 transfer changes Israel's survivability equation forever, raising the stakes for every political and military decision. Israel's vulnerability is stark. Tell us in the comments, what strategy would you adopt if your nation faced this threat? And don't forget, subscribing is just one click to stay informed on the most critical global security updates. The reported transfer of Satan-2 nuclear warhead technology to Iran places the United States in a strategic bind unlike any in modern history. The U.S. possesses the most advanced conventional military and nuclear arsenal in the world, but none of it provides a practical solution to this threat. A direct strike on Iran is impossible due to the uncertainty of the warhead's location, Iran's hardened underground facilities, and the risk of nuclear escalation. Any misstep could provoke a catastrophic retaliation, making conventional military options not only ineffective, but potentially disastrous. Diplomatic pressure and sanctions, tools historically used to contain proliferation, also carry limited weight in this scenario. Iran has already demonstrated resilience under decades of international sanctions and military threats. The strategic calculus has shifted. The transfer has already occurred, and nothing can reverse it. Washington's choices are therefore constrained to containment, monitoring, and long-term deterrence, all while managing the perception of power among allies and adversaries. The United States must now balance global credibility with practical limitations, knowing that any overt action risks escalating into a broader confrontation with Russia, a nuclear superpower. This dilemma extends beyond the immediate region. NATO allies, particularly Europe, are watching closely. The implicit question, if the U.S. cannot prevent a P5 member from transferring advanced nuclear capabilities to a hostile actor, what credibility remains for extended deterrence? This situation forces American policymakers to rethink assumptions that have underpinned global security since World War II. In short, the Satan-2 transfer doesn't just alter Iran-Israel dynamics. It reshapes a strategy, challenges global alliances, and underscores the limits of even the most powerful military force when faced with unprecedented nuclear threats. America's dilemma is real and urgent. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if you were making these decisions? And don't forget, subscribing is just one click to stay ahead of the world's most critical security developments. The transfer of Satan-2 nuclear technology from Russia to Iran is not just a regional threat. It is a tectonic shift in the global nuclear order that has held for nearly 6 decades, since the 1968 Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT. The 5 recognized nuclear powers, US, Russia, China, UK, and France, have agreed not to transfer nuclear weapons or related technology to non-nuclear states. In exchange, non-nuclear nations agreed not to pursue these weapons. This balance created a framework of predictable restraint, ensuring that nuclear proliferation remained limited and manageable. If Russia has crossed this line, the credibility of the entire system collapses. A P5 member openly transferring warhead technology to a hostile actor signals that rules only matter when convenient. The implications are immediate and global. China may reinterpret obligations regarding Taiwan. North Korea might feel emboldened. And nations across the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt, could accelerate their own nuclear ambitions. The result is a cascading proliferation effect, where nations no longer trust international guarantees and feel compelled to pursue nuclear capabilities independently. This event undermines decades of strategic deterrence logic. Global security was built on the principle that major powers would exercise restraint, but the Satan-2 transfer demonstrates that even a permanent UN Security Council member can bypass norms when strategic interests dictate. The risk is not just regional war, it is systemic instability increasing the likelihood of future conflicts with nuclear stakes. The global balance that prevented large-scale nuclear confrontations is now fractured, forcing every nation to reassess security, alliances, and strategic priorities. The world has entered a new era of uncertainty, where nuclear proliferation is no longer hypothetical. It is immediate, irreversible, and potentially catastrophic. The global nuclear order is shaking. Tell us in the comments, how do you think the world should respond to this unprecedented shift? And don't forget, subscribing is just one click to stay informed on the most urgent developments shaping our planet's future. The reported transfer of Satan-2 nuclear warhead technology from Russia to Iran marks a moment in history that will be studied for decades. This is not a typical news story about missile tests or sanctions. It is a fundamental reshaping of global security, where the old rules that govern nuclear deterrence, alliances, and strategic stability no longer apply. Israel's survivability, America's military options, and the credibility of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty have all been thrown into unprecedented uncertainty. For Israel, the threat is immediate and existential. A single Satan-2 missile, armed with 10 to 15 independently targetable warheads, can strike every corner of the country in under 5 minutes, leaving the Samson option, a decades-old cornerstone of deterrence, largely inoperative. For the United States, the dilemma is strategic paralysis. Direct military action is impossible. Diplomacy cannot reverse the transfer, and any confrontation with Russia risks nuclear escalation. The entire framework of extended deterrence that NATO allies have relied upon is suddenly in question. Beyond the immediate crisis, the global implications are staggering. The transfer undermines the NPT and long-standing non-proliferation norms, signaling that even the most powerful nations can break the rules with impunity. Countries across the Middle East, Asia, and beyond will reassess their nuclear ambitions, potentially sparking a cascade of proliferation. The era of predictable deterrence is over. The world has entered a period where strategic calculations must account for threats previously considered impossible. This moment is a stark reminder that power, technology, and strategic decisions shape the future of civilization. The decisions made by leaders in Moscow, Tehran, Jerusalem, and Washington in the coming months will determine whether this new reality leads to heightened stability through deterrence or spirals into dangerous instability. One thing is certain: the rules of the game have changed forever, and the global community must adapt rapidly to a world where nuclear threats can emerge suddenly, unpredictably, and with devastating consequences.